So let's create the handling for our camera. We're going to go and create a new mono action, and I'm going to call this rotate via input because we can reuse this script. And let's say we want to rotate something based on an input. You can reuse the script there instead of just keeping it for your camera. So I'm going to create, of course, I'm going to add the namespace, and this now is going to be an action. So let's override the execute, and here we are. I'm going to add a float variable, which means we also need to include the scroll object library. We have a float variable, and we're just going to say target float. Okay, we also need to know the transfer variable we actually want to rotate, because through a mono action we don't have any access to what object we are in, or we are calling this from here, and that is by design, to be honest. So we're just going to add a transfer variable, and I'm just going to say target variable. We do need a few more things, however. For example, we also need an axis. So let's say public enum rotate axis. And of course, we only have, well, Oilers have only 3 axes. Quaternions have 4. Okay. Oops. We're going to need a few variables. For example, we're going to need an angle. We're going to need the speed, let's say 9 or something. We also need to know if we want to be applying it negatively on the axis. So if you're moving the mouse up, you're not going down, but you're going up. Okay. Of course, that's also by user choice. We also want to know if we want to clamp the rotation. Okay, all these are stuff we've done on multiple videos, so I'm not really worried about not covering them that much, but all it is basically this. If you want to clamp them, just do this, just turn this true. If you want to apply negative value, so if you want to have inverse controls, just turn that to true. We also need a maximum clamp. Again, these are all values I've tried before. I know they're working, so I'm using them. Rotate axis and the target axis inside our execute. Then, if we are not turning this on negative, we're going to be adding our angle, the target float dot value multiplied by speed. Else, instead of adding, we're simply going to be turning target float dot value multiply speed. We're going to be subtracting from our angle. If we want to clamp, if clamp, and then we're going to do angle equals mathf dot clamp the angle between the minimum clamp and the maximum clamp. Okay. Finally, we do need to assign this into an axis. So we're going to do a switch with rotate axis, so our target axis. Open all of this, and let's write the first one. Target transform, then target variable. Let's assign this as target transform. Target transform. Alright. Target transform dot value dot local rotation is going to be quaternion dot Euler 0, not 0. If it's on the x, it's going to be angle 0, 0. This, and copy all of this now, paste it below, and just change the angle where we place the angle. For example, on the z it's going to be over here, and on the y it's going to be in the center. Okay, let's also add the create asset menu in here. Menu actions, menu name, actions, menu, let's see, actions, mono actions, rotate via input. Okay, awesome. And actually, maybe rotate via input is not the correct name. Maybe we can say rotate via float variable, but okay, we're going to understand that this is based when you want to rotate something, you do this via a value. So how do we set this up? We already have the camera transform for this, for a camera handler. Let's add an action hook, and let's go now and create our actions. Over here, ignore this check, I believe it's just for testing. So over here, more actions, rotate via input, and I'm going to say camera Y rotation. I'm going to switch this to Y, and we need a float variable here and a target transform. The target transform, we already have this, and it's going to be this one. What we also need right now is on our inputs, we need one more float, which is going to be, well, we actually need two floats. One is going to be our mouse X, and the other one is going to be our mouse Y. Of course, because we need to be outputting this somewhere, we also need to create a new input axis. In this case, this one is going to be mouse X. Don't forget to change this one over here, and don't forget to also change the variable to mouse X. So duplicate that as well and say mouse Y. Mouse Y, change the mouse X, mouse Y. Okay, now with these two, don't also forget to add them inside our input batch over here, otherwise they're not going to call. And we have trust in the system now that it's going to update all of them, which in turn they're going to update these two float variables. And let's see what we do with our action hook. The camera, I think if we update this inside the update action, if we rotate this inside the update action, it will be fine. So I'm going to say camera Y rotation, and let's assign the target float variable. Mouse Y is actually up and down, so that's what we need over here is the mouse X for the camera Y. We don't want to clamp this, we also don't want this to be negative. Let's hit play, and we will see that we are going to be able to rotate around. Okay, awesome. Let's see, without adding any new code, how we can do the same for the pivot. We're just going to have to go and create a new transform variable. In this case, this one is going to be the camera pivot transform over here, and of course we need to assign the on enable. I changed the name for on the on enable, so this one now is going to be camera pivot transform, and I don't have to add another action hook. I can just add the action hook in here. Okay, so let's rotate, let's duplicate this, and instead of camera Y rotation, it's going to be on the camera X, so basically it's the tilt. So you can say camera tilt rotation instead of the X. Okay, it's a little bit more understandable. And let's set the values. Camera pivot transform, and this one now is going to be the mouse Y. The mouse Y, you're probably going to be using the negative one, and we also want to clamp. So if you don't clamp, it's going to go the other way around, so it's going to do a 360 no scope. Okay, so change the axis to the X. Of course, this has to do with Euler axis, so it's basically going to move your pivot like this. Okay, set this to 0, and as you see, I didn't add any new code. I'm just reusing the same code I did for my camera look angle, and just like that. Well, of course, if we added it also in here, it will help. So let's add this over here as well, and just like that, we're going to be able to rotate our camera up and down without writing any new code. We don't have anywhere any duplicate code. We're just reusing the same code all over again. Okay, so let's finish with this over here, and on the next part we're going to also make our camera follow our player, because otherwise, as you can see, he goes for a while. As always, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and if you like to see more videos, then consider supporting me on Patreon so I can make more videos. I'll see you next time.